Hey guys, JK Wargames, and today we're going to review Sherman Leader by DVG Games. I have to say a massive thank you to Sarah and Dan from DVG for sending this through for review. So, without further ado, let's look at what we get in the box. Okay, so we get a lot of stuff in the box. We've got the Sherman Leader rulebook, which is full colour. Really nice, really well laid out, explains everything that you need to know about the game. Very easy to follow, which is what you want for a rule book, so that's brilliant. We then get our tiles, which you place on the board. This is where you're going to battle your enemies, and you get fields, you've got winter tiles, you've got desert tiles, there's all sorts. You then get special condition cards, event cards, battalion cards, unit cards, which is the units that you're going to buy. So you can see these is an M4 Jumbo, gives you how much they cost, half tracks, infantry, loads of stuff. So that's your unit cards. And then you get commander cards, which there are a ton of these, because the game works on your units. Every unit gets a commander, and you can upgrade him during the campaign. So you get lots of those, and these cards are brilliant. Love the artwork on them. And they get stats here that I'll explain later. Obviously you get the board, which is really nice, and then you get tokens. So when you buy a unit, it will have a number on it, and you just match up the token with the card. And then obviously we get our enemy tokens. So you can see here we have a Stug G tank, and obviously these numbers refer to what it needs to save, so 3 or less. He's got a 3 range and he needs a 3 to hit. Or the red means when he fires HE at infantry, he'd need a 4. You then get these tokens, which are your battalion tokens. So basically how the campaigns work is you're going to be attacking a certain amount of battalions over a week, and you're trying to destroy them to get as many points as you can. So, the other thing you get is a Sherman Leader log sheet, which there's only one of these, but I've made some copies, and basically you can put down how many victory points you've got, what's damaged, how many points you have. So this is quite important to use. So let's have a look at how combat works. Okay, so before I start a campaign, I choose a campaign card. So I've chosen Normandy 1944, and it gives you the amount of points you get to start, which is 36. We can see that it says expert, so this is quite a high skill level. European, that means use the European map tiles. And it says enemies gain +1 defense, so all the enemies get a +1 on their saves. And then down here is how many commanders. So when you assign commanders to units, you have to use 3 regulars, then 4 green, then 4 average, depending on how many units you have. This up here is you're going to roll a dice, and this determines whether the enemy are going to roll a d6 for their movement and attacks, or a d10. Once we've got that, we then choose an objective card. So I have chosen invasion, and it says here that I've got 50 starting points, so I add that to the 36 on the other card, and that's my total points I can use to buy units. You can see it lasts for 3 weeks, the campaign, and at the end of each week I'm going to gain 8 SO points. It tells me that I need to draw 24 battalion points, and then it gives me any special things. But you can see down the bottom here, if I wanted a great evaluation, I need 18 or more points. If I got -6, it's dismal, we didn't do anything. So, once you've got that, you're then going to draw battalion cards. So you get your battalion cards, which are here, just grab them. Now I've already selected mine. There's a process how you select. You go to assault, to supply, command, and so on, until you get to your battalion points. So we need 24, and this number here tells you. So you've drawn 3, 4, and you add these up until you get 24 points. Now, once you've got those, you then get your battalion counters like this, and then you assign them up here on the board, and it will tell you on the card where to place them. So most of them are in enemy transit. So I've got one in enemy rear and one in enemy breakthrough, and basically you can see it says I need to pay 1 SO point out of my points I've got to attack one of these. If I wanted to attack this, I have to pay 2, and if I wanted to attack up there, I need to pay 3. Okay, so once you've done that, you're then ready to start a mission. So at the start of a mission, you would draw an event card, and you look at the top box to start. No adjustment, so that doesn't do anything. So you also draw a special condition card at the beginning, and it says subtract 2 stress from each of your skilled veteran and ace commanders. Well, that doesn't matter because I haven't got any skilled or ace commanders. So once I've done that, I place the turn counter on 1, and then you go into gameplay. So basically, when you do a campaign, you need to put tanks in a draw them randomly. It sounds strange, but basically, if you look here, for tanks, we're playing the 1944, which is here, and it tells me to put in a cup 3 Panzer IIIs, 7 Panzer IVs, 2 Panthers, 1 Tiger, 1 King Tiger, and 4 Stug Gs. And then what happens is, when I choose a battalion to attack, it says 4 tanks. And then what I do is, I draw 4 tanks from the cup. So I draw 1, it's a Stug G, I would draw the next one. But I've already drawn mine for this campaign, and we got 2 Panzer IVs, a Tiger IV, and a Panther. So that's how you set up the mission. Then basically at the start of a turn, you're going to roll here on the tactical movement. So basically, let's say we roll on the card, the Normandy card. We need to roll a d10 first. We rolled a 5. Now if we look at the card, a 1 to 6 means they're going to roll a d6. So they now roll a d6 to see what the enemy's going to do. So we roll a d6, we roll a 2. So we move it to 2, and then you read down the column. So for tanks, anti-tank teams, and armoured cars, they do a cautious advance, which would mean that they move forward 1, etc. If you go across, you can see that rifles, half-tracks and machine gun teams hold their position, and the same for trucks, mortars and anti-tank guns. And then once you've gone through a turn, you would then roll again. You roll a 6, so it go down to 6, and it would say for tanks again, advance if they cannot attack. So if they had a target they can attack, they're not going to advance. And then rifles and MGs are going to advance to cover. So it's pretty easy, it's all in the rule book. I'm not going to go into detail about it. But let's have a little look at how the actual combat works. So let's say it's the enemy's activation. This Panzer IV has had an advance AP, so he's going to advance from where he was into this hex. Now this hex has an L in it, which means it's light cover, which he will gain 1 on his save, which we'll look in a minute. But he's going to fire on the closest target here, which is our M4 Sherman 76mm. Now every unit in the game rolls 2 dice, 2d10. We look at his range, he's got a 3. So we count the hexes, 1, 2. So he's at range 2. He needs a 3 to hit. But at range 2, he gets a -1. So he now needs a 4 to hit. So we roll 2 dice. And we rolled a 10 and an 8. So he's got 2 hits on the Sherman. Ouch. Now, our Sherman needs to make a save. So he has a defense of 2. If I show you on the card, you can see in the bottom left, defense of 2. So he has to roll a 2 or under to block these shots. If he was in light cover, that would go up 1. He'd need a 3 or less. If he was in heavy cover, he'd need a 4 or less because it goes up by 2. So we need 2s or less. We failed. We rolled an 8 and a 6. So what happens then is that you draw tokens randomly. Because we've got 2 failed saves, we need to draw 2 tokens. So I draw the first token, and you look on the grey side, because it does have a camo side. Look on the grey side, and it's 1 stress. So the commander of this Sherman gets a stress counter on his card. Now once he gets to a certain amount of stress, it's going to affect the way your units work. And we need to draw 1 more token. So let's draw another one. Hang on guys, I can't get, here we go. So, suspension, 1 stress. So that goes on the unit card, and I'll just have a little look and tell you what that does, because I can't remember off the top of my head. So, suspension, 1 stress, it says place the counter on the unit card. The vehicle cannot move during the battle, and if it suffers a second counter, it is destroyed. So you don't want to be getting too many counters. So let's say all the enemies have resolved their attacks. Now we go into our turn. So I choose my units and I can activate each one. Now if I wanted to move the tank, he's got a speed of 1, so he can move 1 hex, but on his card he's got a -1 attack when moving. So I would need a 5 normally, because on the card, I'll show you, on the card it says AP 5, which means I need a 5, but I've got a -1 to attack him because I've moved, so I now need 6s. So again I'm going to roll 2 dice, and I miss 1 and score 1 because I got a 7. So we've got 1 hit on the Panzer IV. The Panzer IV has a 3 or less to save, but he's in light cover, remember, so he now needs a 4 or less. So he rolls his dice. He's rolled a 7, so he's failed. He needed a 4 or less. You flip the counter, he's destroyed. Happy days. If he had saved that, then no effect, nothing happens. So you don't draw tokens for the enemies. The enemies are just flipped over if they're destroyed, or nothing happened to them. So only you as the player for your army or squad are pulling tokens, which I think is really, really smart. So let's say we've played the battle now. Basically, these 2 numbers here, an 11 and a 4, if you get them down to 11, they are at half strength. And if you get them down to 4, you've destroyed them. So if they had 4 units left on the board, we've destroyed them. And then you would gain 3 victory points. It's as easy as that. So combat is very, very simple, but effective. And I like the way you draw tokens and the way you roll on the enemy tactical movement chart. So you're not always guaranteed. It's a bit of fog of war. You don't know what your enemies are going to do. Now the other thing is commanders. You can see here that my infantry unit, as long as he has 0 to 2 stress, they're okay. They move at slow speed, but they have a -1 when attacking. And if he had up to 3 or 4 stress on him, they become shaken, and they would have a -3 when attacking. So you really don't want stress to build up. Now, the unique thing about this is where the depth lies in this game, is that you're going to upgrade your commanders with your SO points at the end of each week or battle. So I can upgrade him. I can pay the points to upgrade from recruit to green, or I could go all the way up to an ace skill. So if we find an ace look, this ace here, you can see he's got +3, and he can take more stress before it affects them, and they're fast. Now if a commander's fast, it means they can act before the enemy, which is really nice. But obviously you need the points to do that. So when you buy your units, you want to leave some points left over, because you need points to attack the enemies. And if you have no SO points left to attack battalions, the campaign's over. So it's really at heart a simple game, but there's depth in it, because you are trying to get those points, trying to upgrade your units and upgrade commanders. Now also, when a unit takes damage, that damage carries through the campaign. So at the end of a week, or at the end of a battle, sorry, you can try and upgrade, you can try and repair, and you have to pay 1 SO point to remove a counter. So if you've got tanks or units that have like 3 or 4 counters on them, you know, you're going to say, am I going to spend those SO points to put him back into battle, or am I just going to leave it? And that really is where the depth lies. I really like the combat. It's fast, it's simple, it's effective, and it's highly addictive, because I've been playing games and I just want as many points as I can get, so I'm just trying to destroy everything. But sometimes if you get bad dice rolls, it's not going to happen. So I think if you're into World War II and you like solo games, this is definitely one to pick up. I've really enjoyed playing it. I've just showed you a quick example. I'm not going into the whole shebang of everything. I just wanted to show you guys how good this game is. Also, the Sherman leader does come with the Tiger leader upgrade kit, which is a nice touch as well. So the last thing I have to say is, if I can find it on here, that at the back of the rulebook it's got a sample game. So you can see it takes you through a whole game, so everything is laid out really well. So it's so easy to follow, and that's what I like in a game. I want depth, I want simplistic gameplay, and that's what this gives. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Again, a massive thanks to DBG, Sarah and Dan. Yeah, until next time guys, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video.